Fevered Publishing presents Metal Spies, Shadowfast Action Thriller 1 by Cole Chase. Read by the author.
Chapter 13. 3 months before the thing. An astrophysicist and an astrobiologist walk out of a bar. The astrobiologist, Manjunath Hegde, continues, "You're right. If given the force law, we can readily calculate the orbit shape." He trails off as the revolving door spins them out into summer brilliance. Emerging into afternoon light after the dimness of the Seattle Marriott Waterfront's lounge, they blink like moles. They stand near the curb of a busy four-lane boulevard, Alaskan Way, waiting for their eyes to deal with the dazzling sunshine bouncing off Puget Sound across the street. The astrophysicist, Dr. Margaret Kohler, fetches sunglasses from her purse as she reacts to a silver car streaking past. "Ah, self-driving! I had heard Seattle had a fleet, but it's remarkable seeing it firsthand." "What is the name? I usually know it." "Desti," Manjunath provides respectfully. "Ah, yes. Join the Desti Nation." Dr. Kohler pulls a face. Such a mediocre slogan for such marvelous technology. She dons her sunglasses. The Desti fleet has provided taxi service around downtown Seattle for 4 months, a final pilot program before permanent adoption. As the scientists observe the bustling after-lunch traffic whooshing by, 2 more silver cars pass without humans in the front seats. Manjunath checks the time on his phone. "Dr. Kohler, I am so grateful you accepted my lunch invitation, but we should get back to the conference center. Your panel begins in 10 minutes. Dr. Kohler nods, her earrings jingling next to her gray hair. She tugs at the lapels of her blazer, mentally squaring away for the stage. They step to the crosswalk and wait for the last-minute rule benders to rush through the amber light. At the red, the cars and trucks gang up in 2 waiting lines. Manjunath and Dr. Kohler start to cross the road, heading for Bell Harbor International Conference Center across the street. In the middle of the crosswalk, Manjunath hesitates. "Do you hear something?" he begins, but he can see that Dr. Kohler hears it too. A loud metallic banging on their left, 3 vehicles back in line. They pause to see what causes the commotion. A sleek, self-driving Desti sedan backs violently into the stopped pickup behind it. Then it switches from reverse to drive and violently accelerates 4 feet, smashing into the car in front of it. Manjunath glimpses a woman's horrified face in the back seat, fumbling for the door lock. The car controls the locks. She's trapped. Back and forth, smash then crash, thud then shatter. The Desti car tries to break out of the line of vehicles. It breaks its indicator lights on the car in front of it. With each back and forth, it sluices more toward the left. Manjunath has a premonition. "Doctor," he begins, placing a protective hand on her back. Suddenly, the Desti car breaks free. Using the high torque of an electric car, the sedan's tires squeal as the vehicle veers around the immobile cars in front of it and accelerates directly at the 2 scientists in the crosswalk. Manjunath and Dr. Kohler pivot and scramble back toward the Marriott. In the dash, Manjunath pulls ahead with his longer stride and younger reactions. The Desti's bumper clips Dr. Kohler behind one knee, and though her arms windmill for balance, she splays to the asphalt. As Manjunath mounts the curb, he realizes the physicist is no longer with him. He turns around in slow motion. At the same time, the self-driving Desti backs diagonally and fast, ignoring lanes, direction of traffic, or rules of the road. It slams on the brakes, which tighten on its wheels with a sound like a dentist's drill. It squares up on Dr. Kohler's prone body, and with a rising hum, guns straight for her. She barely has time to rise to one knee and shout before the car smacks her down. When the front tires go over her, Manjanath flinches and backs away, crushing his eyes shut. He stumbles on the curb, and a lamppost slams his shoulder blade. He strains to remain on his feet. He hears, rather than sees, the back set of tires thump over the doctor's body. He forces his eyes open, looking frantically for help, shocked, breathless. The car backs over Dr. Kohler. Its low frame hooks on her blazer and flops her body face up, but her face looks like raw hamburger. The car revs, and to Manjanath's horrified scream, it runs her over again. Just when Manjanath thinks nothing could be worse, another Desti car tears along Alaskan Way on the wrong side of the road, bypassing the traffic at the red light. It corners hard, tires protesting, and joins its fleet brother to run over the doctor. Manjanath sees the world at the end of a long, roaring tunnel, and his legs turn to rubber as a third Desti joins the herd. With computer efficiency, all three cars take turns driving over and backing up on what was, until seconds ago, the West's leading expert on orbital mechanics. Chapter 14. Now. A thief walks into a bar at night. Soundbeating at the southern tip of Lake Union serves one of Seattle's gentrified bioresearch neighborhoods. The club's patrons represent one demographic, 22 to 35-year-old tech workers in expensive sneakers and ironic T-shirts, whose taste in cocktails tends towards sweet drinks designed to hide the taste of alcohol, or Red Bull plus any booze. Ducking back inside from his patrol of the perimeter, Quinn Richards scans the dim room. Shadowfast pummels the packed audience with deafening sludge and crunch, and the willowy hipsters bob their beanies to the beat in rapt attention. The five-piece band wears metal stage outfits, with black leather well represented in everything from pants to vests to straps to vambraces, ending in fingerless gloves. Each band member completes their outfit with a different style of executioner mask. Quinn added the masks because the band gets recorded by a million smartphones, and he doesn't want his crew entirely recognizable off the job. They look legit as hell. Metalheads recognize the glittering drum kit, amber Vista lights like Led Zeppelin used in 1973, microphone stands, multiple keyboards, and assorted guitars and basses on stands fill the stage front, while an astounding number of amps, cabinets, and anvil cases flank the perimeter. Colored lights beam and twirl at them through stage smoke. Quinn picks out Nightboy in the shadows by the mixing board. Nightboy, perpetually wearing his wraparound sunglasses, studies the mixing board with his hair hanging like twin curtains. Eventually, Nightboy points his skinny face in Quinn's direction. With those sunglasses, no one can tell where he is looking, but Quinn gives him the nod. The nearly imperceptible up and down of the chin signals, "We're clear, go." Nightboy returns, the nod. Then he leans down and murmurs into the talkback microphone on the mixing board, his words audible only through the band's in-ear monitors. On stage, Manny, the giant Samoan looming over a triple-level stand of keyboards and synthesizers, glances out at Quinn in a hint of acknowledgement. Then he exchanges a look with Danny, the short Korean bass player. A man of few words, Danny generally lets his astounding muscular physique speak for him. Swinging the head of his Mike Lull bass, Danny turns to face the drummer, who bashes at the Vista lights. To the audience, it looks like Danny's synchronizing his elaborate bass line with Sisko's pounding double-pedal kicks. But from his drum throne, Sisko interprets Danny's look and returns the nod. Cooper, shredding on his Flying V guitar at the front of the stage, misses the cue happening behind him. He and the lead singer, Rory, will catch on soon enough. Watching from the back of the room in a leather jacket and a black straight-brimmed trooper hat, Quinn knows it's on. Rory concludes Cooper's solo with a long, fierce scream that could make banshees weep. Shadowfast enters the big ending chord. This takes a while because each player throttles his instrument as if it had insulted his mama and thus requires murdering. Rory raises one slender, tattooed fist, long enough for the players to notice the cue. Then, as Cisco thunder drums a descending roll, she yanks her arm down in time with the band's unified crash. Nightboy adds to the effect by cutting the lights to black. In the dark, 200 throats erupt in cheers. The lights fade up to reveal the players grinning triumphantly, winded from expended energy. Behind Quinn, a commotion walks into a bar. Most people entering a venue enter quietly until they see what's going on. Not this asshole. "That's right, rock on," a male voice yells. Along with Quinn, the entire venue turns to see who's arrived. The glass doors, held wide open by two minions, admit a dude bro who resembles what's-his-name, a blonde vampire from a TV show. Quinn, ever observant of jewelry ripe for the picking, notes the dude's puka shell bracelet because the guy alternately claps his hands over his head and throws devil horn gestures. His strut oozes so much cockiness that Quinn can't tell if his applause is sincere or sarcastic. 3 women and 2 more young men sweep in with the guy. The women wear yoga shorts, conspicuous cleavage, and enough makeup for a Broadway stage. They look like the world's most athletic paid companions. Apple watches, Google glasses, and wireless earbuds festoon the fit young men. Their shirts and tops display the neon green Sky House emblem. "Please," the dude bro hollers at the crowd, "don't stop on my account. Rock on." This draws a feeble, slightly confused cheer from the patrons. The owner of Sound Beatings scurries past Quinn. The man with the salt and pepper ponytail is the only other person in the club anywhere near Quinn's 47 years of age. The owner's obsequious kowtowing to the newcomer makes Quinn assess the dude bro again. Then he recognizes him. Brody Bach. Of course it is Brody fucking Bach, he thinks, because every heist plan is just a list of shit that probably won't happen. This is like having Elon Musk or Mark Cuban show up in the middle of your heist. Rory shouts into her mic, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored here tonight. Give it up for Brody Bach, CEO of Sky House." Now the crowd applauds enthusiastically and even murmurs some oohs and ahs. Tech workers are Brody's tribe. He made his billions by leveraging his patent troll business into real estate, then leveraging the real estate into buying an aeronautics firm. Hipsters crane their necks to see, which Brody accommodates by striding among the tables to the dance floor. His arms cradle the waists of the buxom entourage babes. When he gets to the foot of the stage, he turns and absorbs the applause as his fair due, then extends his arms toward the audience and claps as if applauding them back. The band waits out the interruption. The spikes and rivets of Rory's black catsuit gleam in the stage lights as she shifts her weight impatiently. When she sees Brody taking a breath as if about to speak, she cuts in. "Brody, could I get you on the stage for a moment?" Brody pantomimes a fake, "Who, me?" "Seriously," Rory says. "Come on up, you ladies with him. See the steps over there? Help him up here." To the audience, "Who wants to see a drum solo in Brody's honor?" A bright smattering of applause. Rory smiles mischievously. "Who wants to see Brody help with a drum solo in his honor?" The room laughs, whistles, cheers. There is no way out for Brody now. Chapter 15. Brody takes a second to play a little tonsil hockey with each of his babes. He waggles his eyebrows at the crowd and says, "Just keeping up employee morale." Then he makes his way onto the stage, grinning. Quinn approves. Just like that, Rory has improvised the plan back into being. Cooper snatches a pair of sticks from the holster hanging near Cisco's floor tom and thrusts them into Brody's hands. Brody eyes them as if they are dangerous. "I'm no drummer," he announces, "but I never back down from a challenge." The crowd merely chuckles. A few patrons lift a beer in his direction. His entourage bellows, "Yeah!" and woof-woofs in macho encouragement. "Sound beating," Rory announces dramatically. "I give you Cisco Aguilar and Brody Bach." As the crowd cheers, two things happen. Manny, Danny, Cooper, and Rory sweep off the stage and vanish into the wings. Cisco starts a bup-bup-bup-bup steady pulse on his kick drum. Cisco's mask makes him look a lot like Zorro, down to the Don Diego mustache. "How you doing?" Cisco grins at Brody. "More like, what are we doing?" Brody jokes back. Cisco shrugs. "Just play what I play. Look." As a running joke, the band tries to name Cisco's drum fills by matching them with celebrity names that have the same rhythm. Cisco keeps the thup-thup-thup going down low, but on his snare and rider Tom, he plays Pat Boone. "Easy," Brody says. He stands near a floor tom and plays a Pat Boone. Orlando Bloom plays Cisco. Brody plays along, but since he only has the floor tom, it comes out doom, 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 doom. On a rider tom and a floor tom, Cisco plays Dua Lipa. Brody does not like the follower role. He laughs and responds with a flurry of tom hits and cymbal crashes, none of it musical or rhythmic. "Oh, am I going too easy on you?" Cisco says. He gives Brody a Zach Galifianakis and a Slobodan Milosevic and a George Stephanopoulos. "No fair!" Brody cries. He turns to the audience. "Did that seem fair?" As Quinn sidesteps around the venue on his way toward the green room, he thinks, "This bit could go on forever. Perfect." In the green room, concealed from all eyes, Danny tears off his mask and shrugs into a small, tactical backpack. He checks the door and sees that not only is it closed, but Rory rests all her weight on her spiked high heel, tight against the door's base. No one can accidentally enter. Manny turns on a wireless surveillance jammer, powerful enough to block even a drone. Danny turns his back to Manny and feels Manny place the activated jammer into the backpack, then zip the pack closed. He receives an all-good thump on the shoulder from Manny. Danny turns to face Manny again as he settles the pack firmly on both shoulders. He gives each thigh the briefest stretch, cracks his neck, stretches his arms as high as they'll go, and bounces on tiptoes to flex his calves. After standing on stage rocking out for 45 minutes, he feels warmed up enough. Throughout all this, the muffled pup-pup-pup-pup of Cisco beating 4 on the floor penetrates the wall. Before the drum solo ends, Danny needs to steal from a building on the next block and return in time for the band to finish the set. This entire elaborate ruse is the heavy metal riff on "Create a Diversion." It also gives them an airtight alibi if they can pull it off. More than 200 witnesses will swear they watched Danny play bass on stage from 10 o'clock until midnight. But Cisco can't distract the crowd forever. Every moment counts. Manny forms a stirrup with his hands. Danny places his foot in it and feels like a child as the big Samoan effortlessly boosts him toward the ceiling. He presses open the skylight they loosened yesterday. With minimal effort, he manages to control its swing so it opens without smashing against the roof. He looks down at Manny, winks, and then muscles up into the night. On the roof, Danny oxygenates before effort, deeply inhaling the sweet night air of the Pacific Northwest. North of him, floodlights highlight the Museum of History and Industry against the black water of Lake Union. Farther out, a few houseboats shine in the dark. He turns his back on them and sprints away. 2 stories below, the alley spans about 15 feet. Danny launches from the roof and clears the gap readily. The balls of his feet touch down on the next building's fire escape, which his parkour training enables him to convert to vertical momentum. As soon as his feet touch the railing, he springs. His hands find the fire escape railing one floor up. Levering himself atop the next railing absorbs his momentum. Standing on the thin steel, he sidesteps to the end of the fire escape, then jumps to a drain pipe fastened to the old brick building. From there, he scuttles hand over hand up the pipe to the roof of the 5-story building. No big deal. On the roof, he surveys his surroundings. The only witnesses are HVAC housings, roof vents, and ducts. No people, no visible cameras. Someone could observe him from the even higher high-rises on the next block. But who would be in an office building at 11 p.m. on a Friday night, staring down at a nondescript roof? He runs the length of the roof, a full city block. Most people think of parkour as an extreme sport where teenagers bounce off walls with stylish yet pointless backflips. However, the French originally devised it with military intent to execute the fastest path from point A to point B. Danny clears the full block in seconds, casually vaulting large ducts and knee-sliding under clotheslines. The end of the building also ends the old structures in his path. Across the next wide street, the gentrified new construction begins. He has caught a gap in traffic, and he knows from his scouting trip earlier that a 2-story storage shed attaches to the building. Without breaking stride, he leaps from the 5-story building down 3 stories to the shed's roof. The most dangerous thing about falling is how you stop, so he rolls out the landing to carry his energy harmlessly from vertical to horizontal. As he pops to his feet, he flows right onto the top of a crossbeam that spans all 4 lanes of the street. The city has suspended various traffic signals, signage, and traffic cameras from it, facing the street in both directions. At 6 inches wide, lit from below so it appears as a sharp black silhouette from Danny's perspective, it's as good as a highway. He runs across it at full speed. At the end, he jumps the width of the sidewalk and hits the side of a slick modernist Bauhaus building. He knew this would be the trickiest part. His stomach lurches, and adrenaline floods his system for the fraction of a second where his body slides down the industrial window. But, as planned, his toes and fingers find the aluminum ledge that wraps the building horizontally. The ledge repeats every few feet up the side of the building to visually divide it into rectangles. He teeters on a 1/2 inch of fascia and stretches his fingers up to the next one. This part resembles rock climbing more than parkour, but he finds enough leverage to Spider-Man his way to the roof of the 3-story building. He still seems alone here above the city, and the wireless jammer in his pack should defeat any stray video cameras. He feels the breeze off Puget Sound cool the sweat on his forehead. His breathing is still deep and rhythmic. So far, so good. He scurries to the center of the roof, then kneels at a locked door. He whips the backpack off to extract a night vision monocular, which he puts on. When he powers it up, the doorknob looms large and green in his vision. He starts to grab his lockpick set, but when he checks the knob, it turns. Every heist involves luck. Maybe his is good tonight. He puts the pack on again, then eases the door open. Inside, no light, no sound. Darkness fills the emergency staircase so thoroughly that even the monocular can't gather anything except the starlight near the open door. That's enough for Danny to make out the stair rail along the wall, so down he goes. Chapter 16. Quinn enters the corridor to the green room door. Down toward the end, he sees Cooper leaning against the door. He has his executioner's mask tucked into his belt. He uses the phone's selfie camera like a mirror while he finger brushes his hair. He looks like a vain rock star obsessing on his own looks, but he also guards the door with the band inside. Quinn clears his throat. Down the hall, Coop looks up. To Quinn's questioning look, he gives the nod. That's all Quinn needs. He returns to the main room. By now, unable to keep up with Sisko's skill, Brody has promoted himself to conductor. He waves his sticks in double capital U's at the drummer, who obliges by watching him and keeping rock time to Brody's waving. Naturally, Brody waves faster and faster. Sisko speeds up right with him. Clearly, Brody hopes to go so fast that Sisko fails. He flails faster and faster for nearly a minute, while Sisko effortlessly keeps up, wearing an expression that says, "Bitch, please." And suddenly, Brody has worn himself out. He drops his arms and staggers around, a cartoon of exhaustion. Then he turns and lobs his sticks into the audience. He mock bows to Sisko with an "I am not worthy" gesture, then pantomimes slicing his own throat, then with finger guns shoots himself in the head. As Sisko calmly speeds even faster, breaking into a drum roll, he announces into his headset mic, "Ladies and gentlemen, the musical stylings of Brody Bach, give it up." The crowd laughs and hoots. More hands rise, clutching pint glasses of beer. A couple of empty cans of cheap beer sail toward Brody but fall short. "Thank you," Brody says. He spreads his arms, chest out, and paces back and forth, a champion absorbing adulation. The drum roll continues, joined by double pedal bass drum. In honor of his visit, Mr. Bach is giving everyone here a new car. Sisko jokes into the mic, "You get a car and you get a car." Brody laughs and broadly shakes his head no. He waggles a finger at Sisko for being naughty. Then he skips down the steps, joining his entourage. His need for attention sated for now, he collapses into a prime booth, demoting himself to spectator. Brody's drumming career burned bright, but too briefly. Thuppity, 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 thup thup stop. Quinn glances around in concern. The rest of the band is nowhere near ready to resume the show because Danny has barely left the building. Now what? Danny has the layout of this office building memorized from county blueprints. Widely spaced emergency exit signs give Danny's monocular enough glow for him to hurry along. But in the dark, the wide, bland corridors merge into a series of identical forks and turns. When he arrives at the dead end, he curses himself for wasting time. He rushes to the other fork, and reading numbers on each glass door, he quickly finds the correct suite. Someone has locked the glass door to reception. Danny employs his lockpicks and gets through it in seconds. As he skirts the reception desk, he finds the door to the inner office is not only unlocked, but propped open. He checks his watch. Since they closed the door to the green room back at sound beating, 3 minutes have elapsed. He becomes aware of how hard he's panting in the silent office, and he takes a moment to center himself. Twin monitors on the desk each shine brightly enough to blow out his night vision. He tears off the monocular, dumps it on the desk, and plops into the leather executive chair. The monitors each display the same logo, a posterized version of a mountain inside a circle. He finds a tower computer mounted under the desk. He slides a stick into one of its USB ports. The monitors wake up and ask for a login. Shadowfast obtained the employee directory earlier in the week through Cooper's social engineering on site. They know that every employee email address ends with a noble mountain. Danny makes an accurate guess at the rest of this user's address based on the CEO's name, but to complete the login, he still needs a password. Manny has custom-built the USB stick. It's not merely flash storage, it uses CUDA architecture and multiple onboard GPUs to run through possible passwords. Manny has tried to explain to Danny about Cain and Abel, John the Ripper, Aircrack, and a bunch of other hacker tools Danny doesn't care about. He knows the GPUs can parallel run a dictionary attack, a rainbow attack, and brute force, working through every combination of letters and numbers. After a tense 45-second wait, the login screen gives way to the home desktop. Success! A high-res photo of the same mountain wallpapers the screen. Down in the corner, text captions it as K2, the second highest mountain in the world, near the border of China and Pakistan. Danny clicks and scrolls. He could copy the entire hard drive to the CUDA stick, but that many terabytes might take 15 or 20 minutes to transfer. He doesn't have that much time. Manny has reckoned that the files they want do not live in the utilities or application folders, nor are they pictures. Danny selects most everything else and drags it onto the icon of the CUDA stick. A loading bar pops up. After a moment, it says, 1% of the files have transferred. That's when Danny hears the light metallic thwang of something in the corridor falling over. Adrenaline washes into his gut. Chapter 17. Cisco stands and shouts into his mic, "Bro, D!" Then he cups one hand to his ear and with the other hand points his drumsticks at the audience. Nothing. He repeats the whole thing. "Bro, D!" Now, anyone who has ever been to a concert in their life gets it. "Bro, D!" the crowd bellows back. Cisco. "Bro, D, Bach!" The crowd. "Bro, D, Bach!" Quinn watches Brody beam. His minions hold up smartphones, video recording the scene. "Sure, you're a real man of the people, bro." While standing, Cisco starts the kick drum again, the same bup, 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 bup that drove his first segment. To the rhythm, he chants, "Brody Bach's the man. Brody Bach's the man. Ma'an. Ma'an." Like a rising scream, "Man! Man!" Bup goes the kick, but Quinn hears stall, stall, stall. Cisco sits and smacks out a couple of Zachary Levi's, but more like Zachary Levi. Quinn bursts out laughing when he realizes Cisco has started the drum solo from Inagata Davida. Come on, Danny, hurry up. Danny holds still, listening. He's not sure, but he thinks he hears tiny scuffling noises from the carpet. Just what he needs, another delay. He tries to picture where Cisco might be in his drum solo, but he has no way to match it to his own actions. He sinks to the floor, below the glow from the monitors, and pulls on the monocular. Silently, he crawls out of the executive office to reception, still hidden by the receptionist's desk. He can see dimly because of night vision. That also tells him no one has turned on a light or his monocular would flood out. Confident that darkness obscures him, he rises and slips silently to the corridor door. Down the hallway he can make out the green outline of a cylindrical trash can. Its triangular swing top lies on the floor beside it. 4 perfectly round little orbs moving toward the trash can reflect green back at his monocular. With relief, he realizes 2 huge rats have upset the trash lid, frightened themselves away with the noise, and now return to finish their late-night repast. Danny jogs back to the executive chair, removing the monocular from his head. The loading bar says 4% has copied. He puffs his cheeks and blows out exasperation. The problem with the solo to Inagata Davida is that it doesn't build to anything. So after 3 minutes of lub-dupping and Zachary Levi's, Cisco accidentally tips one stick against his cymbal stand. Opportunistically, he switches his solo to incredibly fast paradiddles and taradiddles on anything except the drums, the cymbal stand, the drum rims, his drum throne, and, obviously, more cowbell. The novelty intrigues some watchers, but soon Quinn feels the crowd's attention fading. Cisco eventually works his way to the cymbals, and after some inventive work with closed and open hi-hat, there is nowhere left to go except a round of his ride, crashes, and trash cymbal into the snare, and finally a thundering finale with the toms and kick. Sisko smashes the last cymbal hit and stands in mock triumph. The applause moves from tepid to generous, then rises in a fresh wave when Brody Bach stands and urges the room into a standing ovation. Perspiration soaks through Sisko's Zorro mask as he bows. "Hey," he says as the audience sits. "Thanks for coming out tonight. We're Shadowfast. I just want to know one thing. Who thinks they came the farthest to see us tonight?" Quinn whispers thanks. Nothing eats up time like audience work. The onlookers discuss amongst themselves. A girl wearing a Rick and Morty t-shirt volunteers. "We drove up from Longview." "Longview?" Sisko exclaims. "Pretty good. Can anyone beat that?" More hubbub. "Is Bremerton farther?" someone calls from near the kitchen door. "Let's look it up," Quinn suggests loudly, and as hoped, it sends everyone to their phones typing and comparing. A guy in a black rugby shirt stands and says something. "What was that?" Sisko asks. "I'm visiting from Sydney," the man repeats. "Sydney!" Sisko cries. "Australia!" Quinn moans inwardly. Sisko came up with a great time-waster that should have gone down a rabbit hole of people measuring from here to Bellevue, here to Renton, here to Deception Pass, cracking jokes and getting competitive, but Sydney snuffs it all out. He shoots a helpless glance at Nightboy. Nightboy returns the shake. No word from the band. The room cedes that yes, the bloke from Australia clearly traveled the farthest to get to Seattle. "Thanks so much for joining us," Sisko says. "You a beer drinker?" "Most def, mate." Sisko waves at a server. "Send that man a pint on me, okay? What's your name?" "Lucas." "Lucas, we dedicate this next song to you and your glorious travels. If the band can come on out and join me now." Sisko looks to the wings. Rory walks onto the stage, alone. She whispers something in Sisko's ear. He nods. Quinn feels his plan unraveling, as if his very guts were woven from a thread someone is now pulling. If it doesn't seem to the audience like one seamless show, the alibi won't stick. Chapter 18. Rory removes her microphone from the stand and makes her way through an obstacle course of cables and pedals to the farthest front corner of the stage. Lights follow her. Everything else sinks into shadow, except for candles at individual tables. Sisko begins a subtle pulse, closed hi-hat with a light cross stick. Rory hums, that's all. She hums. She lowers the mic and takes a breath. When she raises the mic to her lips, her full-sleeve tats culminate in a cobra on her wiry forearm that clenches the mic in its jaws. The visual suddenly seems iconic. She hums some more. The room calms. Rory hums again, her eyes closed. It's more of a moan now. She sways to the pulse. But that moan contains the weight of the world. Troubles, hard-lived. Victories, hard-fought. A young soul aged prematurely. Quinn stands, gobstopped. Goosebumps rise on his arms. Yet it was just fucking humming. Rory has that rock star presence. For no reason, it just looks like whatever she's doing is important. The room turns absolutely silent. Even the entourage at Brody's booth stop their running chatter. The bartender and the servers stop working to watch. "Tell me the story," the whole room seems to ask. Rory's hum grows to an ooh, then an oh. Inarticulate, yet within the sound somehow, a battle with disease, healed. Grieving, past. Then the ooh evolves into an ah, ragged yet jubilant, wounded yet defiant. Quinn watches Rory with such fascination that he's caught by surprise when the low, fat sound of synth and bass swell in, supporting her voice. Wide-eyed, he checks the other side of the stage. From their positions left of the drum kit, Manny and Danny grin right at him. Danny tosses him a thumbs up. Suddenly, Cisco cracks the snare drum 8 times like a machine gun, and Rory gives a snarl that would make a puma shit itself. The band holds while Cooper rips out a demented lick like a hyperspeed version of Fascinating Rhythm. Then Shadowfast crashes into a hard-driving, up-tempo beast of a banger that shakes the whole venue. The audience senses the jubilation and leaps to its feet, dancing and cheering. Even hipper-than-thou Brody Bach jumps to his feet. Manny and Danny exchange a look and, laughing, synchronously bang their heads to the beat. Manny's long wavy hair flies like a victory flag. As Rory launches into the verse, Quinn recognizes the song. They're covering Deep Purple's Burn. He finds himself grinning back and throwing devil horns. The whole ludicrous effort worked. This night rocks. This band rocks. Quinn congratulates himself, thinking, we are so fucking metal. Chapter 19. Quinn passes the Pagliacci pizza box to Manny, who slides 2 more slices of 12th Man onto his plate. He knows better than to offer any to Danny, who has his own vegetarian pizza. The 3 sprawl comfortably around the big oak table in Quinn's spacious kitchen. The open-flow floor plan lets them easily view the 85-inch OLED in the living room, quietly playing college football. After a swig of beer, Quinn says to Danny, "Thing I want to know is, why at practice you could get the data in 8 minutes, but last night it took 12 minutes. Danny pulls a face. Whoa, Q, never happy. It's not that, Manny explains. He's steel manning our rehearsals. What did we fail to game out? Serious omission. Danny polishes off his slice with an oversized bite and makes them wait while he chews it. He wears his usual inscrutable expression, which Manny calls his unscrewable expression. You know what we didn't game out? I'm asking, Quinn prompts. We didn't game out. What if some stupid ass gets almost back to sound beating when he realizes he left the NVG on the CEO's desk? Quinn scoffs. Nah. Manny grins. You left your night vision goggles in the Noble Mountain office? Danny studies his plate, admitting nothing. I only said we didn't game it out. Quinn and Manny burst into belly laughs until even Danny grins. Sorry, boss, he mumbles. Manny throws Danny an affectionate slug, which Danny reflexively parries. Hoo-hoo, so much for Mr. Perfect Discipline. "'S-okay, Quinn chuckles. It worked out. Just, don't do it again next time we play a gig with a drum solo specifically so you can run 2 blocks to climb a high-rise and steal data for a mystery client who always talks to us through a voice changer. Yeah, next time, Manny says. Promise, Danny agrees. You should have seen your face when we got back on stage, Manny gloats. He and Danny goggle at each other with wide eyes and dropped jaws, then as one, turn their bug eyes at Quinn. Can a guy be pleased to see his friends? Quinn protests as the other 2 slap their knees and belly laugh. Quinn drops his pizza crust onto his plate and wipes his hands on a paper towel. Speaking of the mystery client. Hold up, Manny interrupts him. He grabs the TV remote off the table and turns up the volume. The local anchorwoman continues. New revelations in the shocking death of Dr. Margaret Kohler 2 months ago. The scientist, whose patents earned fortunes for Raytheon, SpaceX, and Boeing, died when run over by a self-driving Desti vehicle. Desti has described the incident as a software glitch until today. A new forensic report from investigators reveals that hackers modified Desti fleet programming with facial recognition software so that the cars were watching specifically for Dr. Kohler. The fleet acted normally until... Quinn ponders aloud. Blame shifting by Desti? It would take a major effort to hack at the fleet level, not just one car, Manny allows. But the conference publicized Kohler as a keynote months ahead of time. It's not feasible for a lone hacker, but if you assume a nation-state effort, maybe. He sits back and pushes his wavy hair behind his shoulders. But whoa, to work that hard, that long, someone really wanted her dead. Cui bono, Quinn murmurs. Who benefits? Analysis will continue, says the anchor woman. Because all Desti fleet vehicles are connected to the internet, the hackers were able to wipe the event logging and video recording clean. The hackers remain unidentified. For more details and the latest breaking news, trust our on-the-spot team. Manny changes channels to see if they can get more coverage. Instead, cable news covers a speech by a U.S. senator. Part of the screen shows the senator speechifying in the Senate, but the audio comes from the host, showing picture-in-picture. An explosive report from Gobblefeed alleges, but no one needs his commentary as the chyron at the bottom of the screen reads, Senator spends millions raised for charity on personal vacations. Oh my God, I hate these fuckers, Quinn growls. Self-righteous hypocrites. He mutes the TV. Anyway, he glances across the kitchen at the clock displaying on his Keurig coffee maker. Time to call our client and share the good news. The need to do business sobers the trio. Manny and Danny clear the table while Quinn wipes it down. When they resume their seats, this is the moment Quinn used to reach for a burner phone. But Manny, the cruise hacker, has set up Quinn's smartphone with the Signal app and an onion router. Together, the apps encrypt all his calls and hop the voice over IP signal randomly around the internet before arriving at the receiving end, making his calls functionally untraceable. Quinn opens the Signal app. They make eye contact. Danny asks, Did you look at the data? Manny's overcoat hangs from the back of his kitchen chair, half of it puddled on the floor because of its length. He fishes around in a pocket and extracts the Cuda stick Danny gave him last night. Yeah, some serious shit here. Oh? Quinn responds. Like, what? Like, who knows, Manny answers. Some of the files are not just encrypted, they're quantum encrypted. I can't touch it without altering the data. I looked into Noble Mountain. It's a shell company with no visible products or services. It's owned by a company in the Cayman Islands called Fabflate, which is owned by an LLC in Venezuela called Realitic, which is a division of Equity. Shit names. Right, probably generated by AI. These are fronts in different countries to screw up jurisdiction if law enforcement comes for them, and to make it tough to trace finances to their source. Manny waggles the stick between two large fingers. We really don't know what we have here. Huh, Quinn says. I really hate selling something when I don't know what I've got. But not so bad when they offered $250,000, Danny observes. They look at each other, a band before they were a crew, fellow soldiers before they were a band. They reach agreement wordlessly. Chapter 20. Here goes, Quinn says. He presses the speakerphone button, then enters a phone number he memorized. The small speaker emits the burble of the phone ringing on the other end. It rings 5 times before someone picks it up. Go for Maid Marian, a robotic voice says. Last time it sounded like Darth Vader. This time the voice sounds closer to Mary Poppins. The name it gives changes on each call. Each name has been from Arthurian legends, which Quinn views as pointless window dressing. We have the package, Quinn says. We know, says Marian. Manny rolls his eyes. How could the smartass know? Then you know it's time for an exchange. We will pay, Maid Marian says. Quinn waits for details of a meetup or a request for an account number. After a silence, he prompts, Yes, as agreed. We will pay double, Maid Marian says, when you accomplish one more task. Not interested, we never renegotiate. It's double or nothing, I'm quite afraid. A deal's a deal, $250,000 US, and you get your item. Danny types on his smartphone, then holds the screen up to Quinn. In large letters, his note reads, "Ask what the task is." Quinn shakes his head brusquely. "The situation has evolved," Marion says. "Just one more thing, and your $250,000 becomes $500,000. Wouldn't you like that? This task is simple." "Of course it is," Quinn says, heating up. "When we pull it off, which we absolutely can, you'll say, 'Oh, one more thing, and it becomes $1 million.' Don't string us along. All you must do is get a certain person to a certain place south of downtown Seattle by a certain time. Then you get paid." The three thieves exchange looks. Manny mouths, "Kidnap?" Quinn nearly asks, "Who is the target?" Then anger burns his gut. He takes a second to tamp it down because he doesn't want them to know they almost got into his head. Steadily, he intones, "We have the item you requested. If you want it, pay. If you won't pay, our agreement is canceled, and I sell to another buyer." The voice changer cannot quite hide Marion's amusement. "Quite unlikely. I give you 24 hours to consider my proposal. You will like it better if you come along willingly." The implied threat feels like a last straw to Quinn. "We hold the cards, asswipe. You wanted this bad enough to find us, hire us, and offer serious cash. When we talk tomorrow, be ready to pay. Or be ready to fuck off." He disconnects. He starts to hurl his phone at the couch, then thinks better of it. He exhales hard. Manny and Danny look away, scratching awkwardly and shifting in their chairs. The silence in the room grows until they can hear the soft exhale of the heat pump in the house's vents. Quinn repeats, "We hold the cards." "Yeah," Manny says, "right." Shortly after Manny and Danny have shown themselves out, Quinn broods in the living room. Eventually, he admits to himself he will have to go to bed with the problem of the non-paying client unresolved. He stands, noting that it shouldn't be this difficult to haul his ass up off the couch. With the Harmony remote, one touch turns off the preamp, the amplifier, the surround sound, and the giant TV. Another touch starts the floor-to-ceiling drapes on the picture window gliding closed. They travel about 7/8 of their path and stop, stuck. Quinn sighs. It's always something. You think inheriting a paid-for mansion must be awesome until you're responsible for upkeep. The last thing he needs is a client refusing to pay. He decides not to investigate the problem until tomorrow. His crew would never have found itself in this predicament if he had remained at the top of his game. He feels sorry for himself and simultaneously loathes himself for the self-pity. He goes to bed with a discouraged sigh that seems to carry through the room, through his dreams, through the night. Chapter 21. Whenever Quinn sends the text "band meeting," his crew knows they have something important to discuss. He sends the text that night, and the next day, the members of Shadowfast gather in their rehearsal space, Quinn's large, finished basement. Quinn sits in the L of his big sectional couch, hunched with his forearms resting on his knees while he reads the room. Manny and Danny flank him, silent and somber. Unusual for Manny, normal for Danny. Rory leans back on the chaise lounge part of the sectional, her volumes of dark hair flowing around her head like a negative halo. She looks biker tough and wiry in black leggings and a sleeveless top showing her arm tats. But one jiggling toe conveys impatience. Cooper Ellington Lockwood III, affectionately codenamed Backslap, faces them in a rocking chair. He shakes his long blonde hair out of his eyes, looking casually elegant in tight jeans and a stone-gray John Varvatos shirt. His natural poise and presence turn the chair into a throne. But experience has shown Quinn there isn't much in that ruggedly handsome head. Behind Cooper, Cisco Aguilar sits on the edge of the rehearsal area where they've set up their instruments. With his light brown skin, He could pass for a number of ethnicities, which has come in useful. He perches on his drum stool, his back to the drum kit, facing the group. Nightboy, wearing his wraparounds even in the basement, sits on the stairs, far from them all. His t-shirt reads, "I'm only wearing black until they make something darker." "Cool sunglasses," Coop calls to him. "Can I try them on?" "No," Nightboy says, "because then you'll spend the whole meeting fucking around with them in a mirror." Cooper pantomimes taking an arrow to the heart. Cisco laughs. Rory cracks a smile and says, "He's not wrong, backslap." She looks at Quinn. "Can we get chips or something?" "Later," Quinn says. He clears some clutter from his throat. "We're here because we received some challenging news, and I'd like your input before I take action, going forward." Rory reacts to the uncharacteristic corporate speak. "Ooh, input! Will we also form a tiger team that lists action items and deliverables?" Danny uncrosses his legs, making his muscles ripple under his tight polo. "Be serious, Rory." Manny urges Quinn, "Just say it." "Straight up, then." Quinn nods. "The client refused to pay." The sentence lands like a bomb with a fuse sitting a few moments before it detonates. "Which client?" Nightboy asks. "The client?" "The client," Quinn confirms, "the $250,000 client we worked for Friday night." Rory curses under her breath. Cisco jumps from his stool and paces back and forth on a short, tight track. Cooper reddens. "What do you mean they won't pay?" he demands. "We did what they asked." Quinn sighs. "They want us to pull a second job." Cisco stops in his tracks. "A second job? When they haven't paid for the first? Do they think we're loco?" "They say they'll double the money," Manny adds. That changes the mood. The band switches from indignation to contemplation. After a second, based on no further information, Cooper says, "We should do it." Rory talks over him. "We got the data, right? Let's just sell it to someone else." "Sell it on the dark web," Nightboy agrees. "Problem is," Manny says, "we don't know what we have, so we don't know how to describe it, much less price it." Rory looks surprised. "Even you can't figure it out." Manny shakes his head. "It's quantum encrypted. I doubt I could ever break it, but even if I could, it would take years of processing." Danny says, "Tell them about the metadata." Manny uncrosses his arms. "Metadata is all the stuff that describes the data, you know?" Cooper immediately looks lost, so Manny explains, "Data about the data, when the file was made, what format it is, last time it was modified, source IP address, that stuff." Seeing no light in Cooper's eyes, Manny waves the point away with one meaty hand. "Doesn't matter. The information has something to do with aerospace. Some of it looks like it came from Boeing's Space Division. Some of it comes from Skyhouse. But that's all I've learned." "So it might be launch codes," Rory muses aloud. "Or it could be the employee cafeteria menu," Nightboy counters. "We don't know." $250,000 worth of cafeteria menus? No way, Cisco says. "What's the second job?" Cooper asks. "Look," Quinn warns them. "Now the client's word is proven unreliable. This could be a setup." "But if we can't sell what we're holding," Rory begins. "What choice do we have?" Cisco finishes. "We always have the choice to walk away." Quinn fixes each person with a firm gaze, one by one. "Don't get emotional. A busted gig is better than getting caught, always." "I've done time. It's not that bad," Cooper brags. "Shut up," says everyone. Cooper scoffs, but he shuts up. "The job?" Manny prompts. "Our client has a target person," Quinn says. "We don't know who. They want us to get the target to a specific place at a specific time." "Like A kidnapping? Rory asks. Easy peasy, Coop says. He pantomimes striking someone over the head. Jack 'em, roll 'em into a trunk, deliver. We're not thugs, Nightboy insists. We take things, not people. What's the catch? Rory asks. Good girl, Quinn thinks. Great question. Every job sounds easy at the start. Oh, just walk into that jewelry store and walk out with a few little rocks. Walk into that bank and leave with a bag of papers. The devil is in the details. And we don't know any details, Manny adds. Danny tries to net it out. We can't sell what we have. Manny interrupts, maybe we can, but not for much because we don't know why it's worth a lot to the client. Danny continues. We've been offered a job. We don't have details, but what we know so far sounds okay. He ticks off bullet points on his fingers. Job is local. Job is short. From an existing client. Weird client, but we don't risk engaging new client. He drops his hands in his lap, which makes his muscles ripple. It might be a setup, but why would it be? Manny says, it's not a setup. If they wanted to hurt us, why would they have the first job? We could have been caught. Then we can't do the second job. To hire us for one job just to screw us on the second is too complicated. He shrugs. The client said their situation evolved. I believe them. And remember, Cooper says too loudly, we could double our money. He throws his arms up and waits for whoops that never come. After a second, he drops his arms. The client wants to talk again about 2 hours from now, Quinn says. I'm not promising to do what you say if I think it's unwise, but I do want the sense of the crew. I'm guessing most of you are inclined to take the second job? Fuck yeah, Cooper's eyes widen as he turns to Cisco. Maybe we can use the ice cream truck. Cisco has paced right up between Rory and Coop. I ain't kidnapping no one. Need to know more, Rory says. But the money, that's nummy. Maybe, Nightboy says. Can we do it at night? Quinn looks to Manny and Danny. We need conditions, Manny says. No torture, no killing, just for starters. Danny nods at that. Quinn stands and sighs. He rubs the back of his neck, which suddenly feels stiff and achy. Okay. He tries to make himself see the upside. We got nothing on the first gig. Maybe the second one will be the rectifier. Boss, Manny deadpans, none of us want to hear about your rectum fires. Thank you for listening to Metal Spies, a Shadowfast action thriller. You can enjoy every episode for free on Cold Chase's YouTube channel, where you'll find the entire Metal Spies audiobook in 6 parts, plus more videos for thriller fans. For advance notice of upcoming Shadowfast adventures, join my newsletter list. To sign up, send your email address to shadowfast@coldchase.media. Life is more exciting when you chase your adventure.